Good day, everyone. Last topic we have discussed, or we have started discussing the level 1 of the programming. So we have discussed there the number system, the conversion of decimal to binary, and the binary to decimal. So in this topic, we will discuss the writing and algorithm, pseudocode, and flowchart. So we will know here, or we will explain what an algorithm, pseudocode, and flowchart are. We will recognize also the importance of an algorithm, pseudocode, and flowchart in programming, and we will create an algorithm, pseudocode, and flowchart. So computer programs control the work of the computers in all levels. It is done by using procedures, classes, and commands, which are also known as programming instructions. When writing programs, instructions are written in a sequence of steps to achieve the results they want. Programmers use pre-code planning to see the logical flow of the program. They either use an algorithm, pseudocode, or flowchart. These programming tools will be covered in this lesson. So let's start. Programming is a process of problem solving. The process of solving programming problems include identifying the problem, followed by human instructions for the computer, which is called a source code. Programmers use programming languages to convert instructions into a machine language or binary numbers that are being executed by the computer. So before we discuss what our algorithms, pseudocodes, and flowcharts are, let's know first the process in solving programming problems. So to be a good program solver and a good programmer, you must follow good problem-solving techniques. The illustration on my right side shows you the stages or steps on how problems are being solved. First, you have to identify the problem. Once the problem is defined and clearly specified, the next step is to analyze it, to identify the possible solution. The solution will then be written through an algorithm to itemize the possible step-by-step instructions, which will be converted to a language that computers understand. The process where instructions or source codes are entered through a programming language is called coding. Once the coding is completed, as discussed in our previous lesson, the instructions will be translated by a compiler with the help of a library. A library is a collection of resources or routines used by computer programs. When the compiler encounters syntax errors, the code will be reviewed. However, if the compiling process is successful, the linker will now process the code for execution to produce the desired output. So that's the process in solving programming problems. So let's have now the algorithm, the pseudocode, and the flowchart. So algorithm, basically it is a step-by-step procedure to solve problems. It makes the whole procedure more efficient as well as consistent. It also helps in identifying decision points, processes, and essential variables to solve the problem. A programmer can also see and determine easily the errors in a particular process using an algorithm. So that's the algorithm. Next, what is a pseudocode? A pseudocode is a description of an algorithm using a natural language, which makes reading of the program easier. It uses short English-like statements to write codes for the programs before you actually create it in a specific language. Next is the flowchart. A flowchart is a diagram representing the logical sequence in which a combination of steps or operations is to be performed. Generally, the start point, end points, inputs, outputs, possible paths, and the decisions that leads to these possible paths are included. So flowcharts can be created by hand or manually in most office software, but lately, specialized diagram drawing software has emerged that can also be used for the purpose. So we have here the basic flowchart symbols. Let's have the first one, the terminator. It is used in declaring the beginning and the end of the flowchart. It is labeled with the word start or end. The second one is the arrows or the connecting arrows. It declares the flow of the process. The next one is the processing step or the process. This is used to process data normally composed of mathematical symbols. The next one is the input and output symbol. This is used if the flowchart needs input from the user or output from a process. And the last one is the conditional or the decision symbol. If the procedure leads to a comparison which involves logical or relational operators and question that is answerable by a yes or a no. So let's focus on the decision structures. The expression A is greater than B is a logical expression. It describes a condition we want to test. Example, if A is greater than B is true, we take the action on the left. We print the value of A. If A is greater than B is false, we take the action on the right. We will print the value of B. So later on, we will understand that because later on we will show an example. Okay, so we said earlier that if A is greater than B, if it is true, we will take the action on the left. We will print the value of the A. Then if A is greater than B is false, we will take the action on the right. We will print the value of the B. So that's the example of the decision structures. So these are the example of a flowchart. And this one also is an example of a flowchart. So let's have an example. So we will create an algorithm and flowchart that reads the two sides of a rectangle and we will calculate its area. So of course, we have the following step. Step 1, we have to input its width and length. Step 2, for the process, we will get the formula of area is equals to length times width. In step 3, we will output its area. For the flowchart, we will use the symbol terminator for the start and the symbol of input or output for the input width and length, and symbol of process for the area is equals to length times width, and we will output its answer. Then after presenting or after printing the area, we will stop now the program. So you can start writing your program through an algorithm or pseudocode. As a beginner, you do not need to worry about the programming language syntax yet. It is important to transcribe your thoughts into sequential English-like steps or a flowchart to solve problem. So in our next discussion, I will teach you how to create a flowchart and algorithm. See you on our next topic. God bless everyone and